There's nothing quite like a golf course to get your emotional juices flowing, whether it's momentary exhilaration or, more likely, club-tossing frustration. But for one Montana family, a golf course has stirred up a different set of feelings: amazement, pride, closure, and happiness. Chris Connolly reports on how a family that once seemed doomed to a lifetime of mourning found that a golf course could give it new hope in a place called Eureka.
Most people drive past rivers and mountains, rich with the Northwest's rugged beauty, before they come upon this golf course in Eureka, Montana. But Steve Espinoza and his 26-year-old son, John, got here by a different road, paved with tears and tragedy, years of unpaid labor and undying love.
I look around this golf course, and I look around and they say, heaven is a place where dreams come true. And if that's true, I'm truly in heaven.
Heaven, not just because of the rough-hewn beauty of the links themselves, but because of the joy the course has brought to the most vulnerable member of a family that for so many years knew nothing but sorrow.
This golf course got them up. It drew everybody back together. I think literally it saved every one of their lives and put them back together.
Steve is a disabled Vietnam vet who frequently needs a wheelchair. He and his wife Juana had a daughter who died of a heart defect while still an infant. When John was born 2 years later, he was diagnosed with Cornelia de Lange syndrome, similar to Down syndrome. But through it all, there was Michael, their eldest, a wrestler, a solid golfer, a good enough football player to get a scholarship to North Dakota's Jamestown University. Mike Espinoza was the light of his family's life and always had his kid brothers back.
I used to go hunting with him, and he'd take me cruising around town.
Then, on a Friday night in the summer of 1993, Mike drove with two friends to a nearby town for dinner.
At 3:30, I heard an engine pull up in the driveway and a knock on the door, and the highway patrolman was there. And Steve, there was an accident. Michael was involved in an accident. I said, is he okay? He's gone.
20-year-old Mike Espinoza had died on the road back to Eureka. Steve and Juana had lost another child.
I just thought it wasn't fair. I thought somebody was, I couldn't understand why it could happen twice. And it was hard.
People are so hard on themselves after something like that happens. Mm-hmm. But you knew you had to be strong for John.
For John.
Why?
Because I just had one last chance, I think.
John was your last chance.
My last chance.
Months after Mike's death, Steve Espinoza decided that he was out of chances. One night, he gave his sleeping wife and son each a farewell kiss, grabbed his revolver, and prepared to end his life.
I went downstairs and took a gun, put it to my head, and I closed my eyes and said, Michael, please talk to me one more time, son. Please talk to me. And then I heard his voice. I opened my eyes, and he said, Dad, don't do it. I said, I can't do it alone. He says, Dad, John needs you. He's got a tough road ahead.
The following spring, John walked into Mike's room, took one of his golf clubs out of the bag, and brought it to his grieving parents.
We were both crying, and John came walking downstairs with Michael's golf clubs. I looked up and said, what are you doing? He said, Dad, will you teach me how to golf?
Steve started to teach him, but John's physical disability posed some unique challenges.
He doesn't have flexation in his wrist. He can't turn his wrist. So I tried to tell him, John, hold the golf club this way, and he couldn't. And I said, all right, John, just hit the ball. And he hit the ball, and it took off. I said, my God.
Steve excitedly took John to a nearby course.
I got so nervous. I got so nervous my very first time. And people kept rushing me to hurry up, and Dad, I want to go home.
So we came home, and on the way home, John says, God, I wish I had my own golf course. And I got home, and I stepped out of the car, and I got out on the lawn there, and I said, I'm going to put a green right here for my son.
Steve talked a nearby supplier into giving him a bag of seed. And 6 weeks later, John had his putting green. But what John enjoyed most was hitting the ball off the tee. So Steve looked out over his 10-acre property and decided to build his son a fairway.
They started cutting trees down, and I said, oh no, this is really getting bigger than I thought. They're actually gonna do it.
Jamie, this is Steve Espinoza calling from Eureka, Montana. How you doing?
But Steve didn't stop with one hole. He started working the phones, and golf course superintendents across the country started pitching in, donating thousands of dollars in used equipment, fresh seed, and free advice.
The scale of what they've done here is tremendous. The fact that they're doing it with a Vietnam vet with disabilities who spends a lot of time in a wheelchair, and his young son with disabilities of his own with no money. I'm baffled how they do it, and yet here it is.
By 1999, 5 years after he first broke ground, Steve Espinoza, working with no money and no experience, had designed and built a 10-hole golf course. A course with some pretty unique features.
We have a hole, it's about 202 yards. The hazards are the house, the trees, it's a par 4. We add an extra shot because you have to get over all the things, you know. Yeah, son, over the house! You cleared it! Yes! Yes, sirree, son.
Now, when he wasn't helping his dad maintain the course, John could tee off whenever he felt like it.
I could play golf anytime I want to. I could play golf 6 o'clock at night time I want to. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and play golf I wanted to.
And then a funny thing happened. John Espinoza's life started to change. He became less anxious around new people, more outgoing, and he began to win medals in Special Olympics golf competitions.
What did it feel like when they told you were good?
Felt great. And I lose, I'm a winner. I'm a winner every time I play golf.
There it is!
And John's newfound skills finally liberated his father from mourning his son Michael's death.
For over 10 years, I've been holding on to his memory too tight. And I think now that I can finally say, I'm okay, I can let him go. Because of the support I've had, because of what John's done, I think now I can tell everybody, hey, I'm okay, I'm gonna be okay. And I can let him go. I can finally let him go and start living again.
For the Espinozas, this golf course stands as a triumph of hope and the human spirit, and a rare gift from father to son.
What's it been like to see the light in John as he plays your golf course?
It's amazing. Every feeling that I had with Michael when I cheered him in the championship games or wrestling, I cheered John now with the same feeling, the same enthusiasm, because he's done it himself. He's hitting that ball. He's doing it on his own. What a feeling. It's just, as a dad, I couldn't be more proud.
Friday, John Espinoza finished competing in the Special Olympics World Games in Dublin, Ireland, where he won a bronze medal for the United States, finishing 3rd in his division. John called it, quote, the best week of my life.